Janet with Try It Like It Created, and today we're going to be making these no-sew fabric star Christmas ornaments. Now, I saw this tutorial on YouTube and I thought, oh, that is super cute, but I don't know that I would ever make it. And then I saw these fabric strips at the Dollar Tree, and I thought these would be perfect for making the stars. And so I practiced and practiced, and the reason I practiced is because the fabric strips from the Dollar Tree aren't exactly the right size for the tutorial I saw, and I will link to that down below this video. So I kind of fell in love with the little version of the star, so that's what I'm going to be making today. The folding technique is exactly the same. The only difference is how you iron your fabric, and I will explain that as we go through. So let's open up our package and get our fabric out. So there's 3 strips in here. Okay, and I am going to use these 2 together. So off to the side here, I have my craft iron heating up to its full temperature. And what we're going to do is take these strips, open them up, and then cut them in half. All right. The original tutorial calls for fabric that you start with that is 4 inches wide and I believe 14 inches long. And that isn't what we have here. So I had to make do with what we have. So for the large star, what I did was the tutorial shows you how to fold the fabric up. Show you here. You fold into the center, leaving a small gap, and then over on top of itself, and iron it. All right. Now, that's what you would do with your 4 inches of fabric, but we only have 2. So for mine, with the 2 inches, I just folded it in half and ironed it, and I ended up with the 2-inch wide and the length of my fabric that I needed. Okay. However, what happens when you do this is that you have your raw edges showing. So it's a little bit more, I don't know, farmhouse, a little bit more rustic. It's definitely thinner, lighter weight, a little bit more flopsy, I'd say, than if you were able to double up your fabric in this way. So then what I did was I took these and I thought, well, we'll just make a smaller version. So I first started folding with the smaller version and ended up with way too much fabric at the end. So then I took these pieces and cut them in half again. So now what we have in front of us are 4 pieces of fabric that are 2 inches by, let me just measure this here, by about 9 inches long. Okay. And that fits nicely on my iron mat here, and I'm going to fold it the traditional way. So 2 sides into the middle, all right? And then you would iron, and then you're going to fold it in half and iron again. But I found doing it all at once works just fine. You just hold it in place and bring in my craft iron. I'm just going to let it sit on there. Actually, I got a better seam, crisper seam by doing it this way than folding it and ironing it twice. So folding it into the middle and then folding it in half again. Doing it this way and pressing it just once worked great for my project, and I'm really not that fussy about it. If it's off a little bit like so, I'm okay with it. So we just do that with all 4 pieces of our fabric, and you can see here that this goes pretty quick because they're short, and I am ironing it 2 steps down to 1 step. I hope that makes sense. So I have all 4 pieces ironed, and you can see here that they're folded in half into the middle and then folded in half again. So then what we're going to do is I'm just going to start with the 2 that are similar, and you're going to fold them in half long ways and leave just a little bit of space here. And what the video recommended was leaving the opening of your folds towards the center. Okay, so this is the center here of our ornament, and I'll show you what I'm talking about is that it's going to be this part here. So now I'm going to take this piece and do the same thing, fold it, leaving a little bit at the end. And so I have a loop, and I'm going to put those 2 next to each other. So now basically what we're doing is we are weaving, okay? And see if I can get that to stay put. All right, so now I'm going to fold this guy in half, and it's going to go into, let's see, I'm going to have to do it this way. It's going to go, the loop is going to go over the tail ends on this piece here. So I'm going to stick those in there. All right. And then the ends of the red piece are going to go underneath the loop of the plaid piece. All right, so it looks like that. And then we're going to do the same thing. So this goes, the fold goes towards the center. I'm going to fold that in half, leaving a little bit out here. So now you can see here, this piece is the one that has the loose ends. So we're going to put that into the red loop. And then we're going to tuck the red ends into the plaid loop. So it's basically over, under, over, under. And then we're just going to pull tight on those. So there is our center of our ornament, okay? And you can see that the extra long pieces are all out here on the ends at the bottom of our piece. So we're going to flip it over. All right, and now you're just going to take those end pieces, the long tails that are now on top, and you're just going to take them, so you're separating it away from the small piece, and you're going to fold those up. Okay, so we're just doing a weaving again, over, under type situation. So this piece is going to now tuck, the last piece is going to tuck there. So it goes over this, under this. And then we pull those tight. All right. And so now you can see what we've got here is now we have 2 tails on each side. All right. And so you just want to tug on those. You don't want to pull super tight so that it's adjusting the shape of what you have, but you do want to pull tight enough so that, you know, it looks nice and there's no bulk there. And at any point here, if you wanted to iron to get a crisper, flatter piece, of course, you could do that. But now we're going to be making our folded star parts. And so that's what we're going to use each tail to do. So to start, I'm going to start with this one right here. And I'm going to fold it over so it makes a triangle and a point there. All right. Actually, I'm going to fold it behind, okay, and I'll show you why here in just a second. Either way works, honestly. It doesn't really matter if you fold it on top or behind, but I'm going to fold it behind. And then you take this piece and fold it down, okay? So now you've got like a little roof or a house. And that center, you want to leave just a little bit of a gap, and then you're going to fold it back on top of itself to make that triangular piece right there. All right, now this tail is way too long because we're going to tuck it in underneath this piece right here. So we want to see where that falls on that piece, and then just cut it shy of that area, okay, like so, and then you're going to tuck it into that little pocket that's right there. And the reason I folded it the way that I did was so that I could see where the length of that pocket was. It works either way. You can look on the back side and, you know, that would mean your tail would be here. You would cut it and then come to the front side to tuck it in. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, you know, once you're making your star, you get the hang of it. So I'm going to now work on this piece right here because I've got a pocket right here. So I'm going to tuck that behind and make a triangle. Okay. And so what I'm doing here is just kind of doing a parallel, if you will, right along here, getting a point up at the top, and I'm going to fold that down, just leaving, like you could see my fingernail in there. I'm just leaving a fingernail of a space there so that when I go to fold this on top of itself, it works out well. Okay, and then once again I'm going to hold this extra end on top here to see that it's a little too long to tuck under, so I'm going to cut that off right there, and then tuck this piece into this pocket that's right here. You can use, when you're doing these little guys, if your finger doesn't want to fit in there very well, you know, you can use a pen, a tool, a bone folder, any kind of tool that can help you get that into that space. The first one I did, I didn't really have trouble. You can see this one is fighting me a little bit, and I think it's because I skipped, and on my first go round I actually went just around the whole piece. So I'll try that here and see if that works any better with these little pieces. Okay, so behind, and then down, over, I'm going to cut it, and then tuck this one in. All right. So this little red one is the one that's being a little feisty. So here's the other version showing you here that on the back side, there's the pocket isn't on this back side, but I can still see that it's too long here. So I'm going to cut that off and then go to the other side and tuck it in there. So instead of tucking it in the front, I'm tucking it into that middle pocket. And actually, I am feeling a bit more successful with that route. So I think we will try to keep doing it that way. All right, so once you have it done, and I think I'm going to refold this guy because it just isn't looking good. All right, there, much better. All right, so you can go around and adjust the little points. And if you still have your iron on, you can bring it over and just give everything a little press. If you want to, you can actually go around and iron on the points. And then you can decide how you want to hang it up. Now, for me, the only bit of sewing I would do on this piece is for the thread to hang. Or you could use a hook and you don't have to sew at all. If you are worried about your ornament coming apart, you could use a little fabric tack in there. You could use a little, heat and bond, any kind of glue you could use in there to hold things in place. But there are the small ones. And like I said, the large one looks like that. And again, the fold is exactly the same as what I do with the little guys. If you're going to use the fabric from the Dollar Tree, you're going to take it, fold it in half, iron it, and that's what you're going to use. And then, of course, you're going to have the raw edges that can fray a bit. But I think hanging on the tree, if you want the larger size, the raw edge really isn't going to make much of a difference. Especially hanging on a tree, and nobody's going to come right up on top of it. They're going to see it from a distance, and yeah, so it's either one. I like the size of these guys, and they turned out so cute. So I think with the rest of my fabric, I'm going to make this size. So after I got the stars made out of all the fabric, I'll show you that if you are working with the fabric from the Dollar Tree, you can get 3 small ones from a package, or you can get a large one and a small one from the package. Now, as I was doing this and ironing the fabric and so forth, I thought, you know what? I am making ribbon. So let's see, can we do the same thing with ribbon? And I don't know, I'm not familiar with this project, so I'm wondering, did it start out as ribbon, and I'm just circling back around to what it's actually supposed to be? I don't know. So if you know, in the comments, let me know. But I'm going to give this a go with ribbon and see if it does the exact same thing, because that would be nice, not having to iron the fabric and just buy ribbon and cut it. So I'm working with a satin, polyester satin ribbon. You can buy gross grain, which might actually work better because it is not so slippery as this. But let's just see if I'm giving myself a headache here with using the slippery satiny ribbon, or if it will work. So we made a star using ribbon as well, and I just used a little bit of fabric tack and kind of opened up in here and just pinched a drop in there, and then I pinched a drop in this layer. And the reason being is that the ribbon itself is a lot more flimsy than the fabric version. I think the fabric version will hold together nicely by itself. The ribbon version is much thinner and not quite as sturdy as the ribbon, but still would hold up nicely as an ornament once you put a hook in it or sew in a cording for it. The other thing I liked about the star in the ribbon version is that using the blue, it could be used for Hanukkah. So it's a Hanukkah star instead of a Christmas ornament. So that would be a nice version to make if you have any Jewish friends or family members.